The Galactic Council's Grand Hall glittered with bioluminescent crystals, each pulse of light timed to the harmonic frequencies that most species found pleasing. Liam Chen stood near the refreshment alcove, his human eyes struggling to adjust to the shifting spectrum of colors that cycled through wavelengths his species hadn't even named yet. He was the first human ambassador to the Council, arriving just 3 weeks after humanity had been discovered on their little blue marble at the edge of the Orion Spur. The other species had been polite, cautiously curious. But mostly, they kept their distance from the newcomer whose people still used chemical propulsion and had only just cracked fusion power. Primitives, he'd heard a Kralix diplomat whisper, its crystalline voice chiming like broken glass. Liam had smiled and moved on. Humans were good at that, adapting, persisting, finding their place in hostile environments. It was how they'd survived ice ages and asteroid impacts. A few snobbish aliens weren't going to break his spirit. The gala tonight celebrated the Empress Vexrala's 400th reign cycle. The Dragon Empress herself, a magnificent being whose scales shifted through deep purples and blacks, whose wings could eclipse small moons, stood at the center of the hall, accepting tributes from a long line of dignitaries. But Liam's attention had drifted to the figure sitting alone on a bench carved from solidified starlight. Alice? No, she'd been introduced as Princess Zalira, but Liam had learned her chosen name was Alice, after she'd discovered human literature and become fascinated with a story about a girl who fell through worlds. The Empress's daughter sat perfectly still, her smaller wings folded tight against her back, her clawed hands making repetitive patterns in the air, tracing sacred geometries that Liam recognized from the mathematical proofs he'd studied back on Earth. She was, by any measure, extraordinary. Her scales held an iridescent quality that made her seem to shimmer between dimensions. Her eyes, large and golden, tracked movements across the room with intense precision. And everyone ignored her. Liam watched as dignitary after dignitary approached the Empress, bowed, presented gifts, and never once acknowledged the princess sitting just 20 feet away. A group of young Vryn nobles laughed nearby, their conversation carrying across the hall. Such a shame for the Empress. Can't even make eye contact. Heard she doesn't speak at formal functions. Different, you know. Liam felt something hot and familiar kindle in his chest. He'd seen this before. His sister May had been autistic, brilliant with numbers and patterns, capable of seeing connections others missed. And he'd watched people dismiss her, talk over her, treat her like she was somehow less. He set down his drink, some kind of fermented nebula extract that tasted like purple, and walked across the hall. The conversations around him dimmed as he moved. Humans were still a novelty, and his presence tended to draw attention. By the time he reached Princess Alice, half the room was watching. She didn't look up as he approached, her hands still tracing those mathematical patterns. Liam recognized them now. She was mapping gravitational fields, calculating orbital mechanics in her head, translating the complex movements of celestial bodies into elegant hand movements. "Princess Alice," he said softly, pitching his voice to be non-intrusive. "My name is Liam Chen. I'm from Earth." Her hands paused. One golden eye tracked toward him, though her head didn't turn. "I've been watching you work out those calculations," he continued. "Those are Lagrange point solutions, aren't they? Beautiful." Now both eyes fixed on him. Her head tilted slightly. "I'm not very good at these formal parties either," Liam admitted. "Too loud, too many competing conversations, the lights cycle at frequencies that give me a headache." He smiled. "But there's supposed to be dancing soon. The kind where they dim the main lights and use a single harmonic frequency." Alice's wings rustled slightly. "I was wondering," Liam said, and he extended his hand palm up, non-threatening. "If you might honor me with a dance, I should warn you, I'm terrible at it. Humans have this saying about having two left feet, but I promise not to step on your claws." The hall had gone completely silent. Princess Alice stared at his hand for a long moment. Then, slowly, she extended her own clawed hand and placed it in his. Her scales were warm, carrying heat like stones in the sun. "Yes," she said. Her voice was soft but clear, each word precisely enunciated. "I would like to dance with you, Liam Chen from Earth." The music shifted. The chaotic light show dimmed to a soft, steady glow. A single pure tone filled the hall, and Liam led Alice to the center of the floor. They danced badly. Liam had no idea what he was doing, and Alice moved in patterns that followed mathematical precision rather than rhythm. But they danced together, and Alice's wings slowly unfolded, spreading wide, catching the light. And then something remarkable happened. Other couples began to join them. The Empress herself stepped onto the floor, tears glistening in her ancient eyes. Young nobles who had been mocking minutes before now looked ashamed. A Kralix diplomat approached Alice directly, speaking to her for the first time, asking about her calculations. Later, as the gala wound down, the Empress found Liam on a balcony overlooking the capital city's spires. "You've done something extraordinary tonight, Ambassador Chen," she said. "I just asked her to dance," Liam replied. "You saw her," the Empress corrected. "Truly saw her, not as different, not as other, but as a person worthy of respect and kindness." She turned her great head to regard him. "Your species is young. You have so much to learn. But in seeing value in all beings, in refusing to accept cruelty as normal, perhaps you have something to teach us." Inside, through the crystal windows, Liam could see Alice surrounded by a small group now, her hands moving as she explained her calculations, her eyes bright. "We humans have a saying," Liam said. "We're all just people trying our best in a confusing universe. Maybe we're all a little different. Maybe that's what makes us worth knowing." The Empress's laugh was like distant thunder, warm and rich. "The Council was wrong about your species, Ambassador. You're not primitives." "No? No. You're exactly what we need.